Good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to be here today and present the Mint program to you all in Hong Kong. Thank you to Darwin. We have Kevin Katagama and Shane Crawford from the Northern Territory Migration Team, and we have Annie Jane. Paspalis is really proud to operate the Mint program. It's been going for approximately 3 years, and since it's started, it's been a very successful program with close to 150 people having gone through it to date. Our company has been in the Territory for nearly 100 years, a long time, and we proudly like to consider ourselves one of the leading private investment firms in the country, and certainly a leading investment manager in the Northern Territory. In the last 3 years, we've invested close to $75 million in new capital, which has really created an impact in the Territory. Next slide, please. Paspalis holds an Australian Financial Services licence, which enables us to undertake the management of the Mint program, and the third fund, which is PIF3. Our company is involved in incubator management of the Darwin Innovation Hub, managed investment schemes, which is what PIF3 is. And through our investment fund, we undertake direct venture capital investments, bond investment, and our company also is engaged in property management and ownership. We have investment partnerships and relationships with some of the top investment firms in the world, including the Enterprise Singapore, the Northern Territory Local Jobs Fund, and some leading venture capital firms such as 500 Startups in the USA. So Mint is a really incredibly important initiative for our company. It primarily has been created to address market failure in the venture capital market. So through the Mint program, we have been able to successfully raise 3 funds, PIF1 and 2, which are now closed, and PIF3, which is open, which is what we're talking about today. The Mint program primarily does 3 things. The first, it has 3 main objectives. The first being to provide a mechanism for Paspalis to raise venture capital funds via the Mint Migration program, which is the 190 visa. The second objective is to raise population growth in the Northern Territory in skilled jobs. And the third and very important objective of the Mint program is to maintain the integrity of the migration applications and the quality of those applications. So when you invest into our fund, PIF3, as we call it, which is the Paspalis Innovation Investment Fund number 3. The fund is a capital preservation fund. So that means that it has been set up with an 80% allocation to Territory bonds, which are held for a 5-year term. The bonds provide capital preservation at the credit rating of the NT government, which is a double A minus, and it enables the investors to preserve that capital, where at the end of 5 years, we return interest, less management fees to those investors at the end of a 5-year term. At the moment, interest rates for Territory bonds are running at about 1.1% to 1.2%. And management fees are approximately 1.1 to about 1.4% per annum. So the fund is close to break even on the bonds portion, which are returned at the end of a 5-year period. The venture capital is a higher risk asset class. It runs at 15%, and that's our hurdle rate of return. And to date, our portfolio, I'll talk a bit more about later in my presentation, but the portfolio has been very strong for us through PIF1 and 2. We have not made any liquidations yet, but the performance on paper valuation has been very strong. I will make it very clear that venture capital is a very risky asset class. So in the event that you can make good returns, we can also lose return via that asset class. So our information memorandum goes into quite some detail about the risk that's inherent in venture capital. But I'd like to stress to all of you that, that the PIF program the PIF investment fund has been established to preserve 80% of your capital, which is returned at the end of 5 years. That's interest less fees. And then the balance of the 20%, the maximum period of time that the fund can operate for is 10 years. The 10 years starts at the end of the capital raising period, which typically has been anywhere between 6 months to 18 months, the absolute maximum. We're now about 4 months into the capital raise. So, as I stated, the PIF fund has been designed to satisfy one of the criteria for the Mint program, which is investment into the fund. The fund is an Australian wholesale unregistered investment scheme. It's very technical and it's in the investment memorandum, which in short is a unit trust. And we typically have between 50 to 100 investors in every fund that we create. And as stated, the objective of the fund is to provide capital preservation on the 80% and venture capital return on the 20%, which gives a blended return objective of the fund of somewhere between 1 to 5% per annum. I want to be very clear on this. And of all the things I'm going to say today, this is probably the most important thing I will say. All investors need to read the information memorandum we provide them before they make an investment. That information memorandum will determine the rules and laws upon which the fund operates, the objectives of it. And we encourage all people that go into this program to seek independent financial advice to make sure that the risk associated with this fund is appropriate to their financial position. Our investment management team is made up of myself as the Chief Executive Officer. The other 3 responsible managers we have are Jennifer Yeo, who's our legal counsel, Jeff Thomas, who's an asset specialist, with both of them with well over 15 years experience in the industry, and Matt Bell, who is our Chief Financial Officer and a compliance officer for the fund. And he again has well over 15 years experience. And we're very proud of our team, and we meet monthly to look at investment opportunities and the corporate governance of the fund. So let's talk about the venture capital aspect of the Paspalis Innovation Investment Fund. The fund seeks to invest in high growth sectors, and high growth sectors that we look at are sectors like advanced manufacturing, mining and technology services, the space industry, agricultural technology, gaming and sports industry, research commercialisation associated with Charles Darwin University, and Indigenous business. The reason why we focus on these types of sectors are because these sectors are very heavily prevalent in the Northern Territory and represent sectors that we can actually invest in to build jobs and growth and productivity gains in the Northern Territory. One of the key aspects of the Paspalis Innovation Investment Fund is that the investments we make into these venture capital projects provide an economic advantage to the Northern Territory, which is one of the key reasons why the Northern Territory government supports this program. So it's the 100% investment into the Northern Territory, being 80% territory bonds, which goes into the Treasury Corporation's use of those bonds for services and schools and hospitals in the Northern Territory that the Northern Territory supports. And then it's the 20% allocation into high growth sectors that create really important GDP growth in the Northern Territory. That is the reason why this program exists. And it's the 20% risk, which is the really high value part of this fund, which is why the concessional benefits are offered through the Mint program, which are very attractive in the Australian migration landscape. It's a really popular program because of that, because investors know that they're getting a really clear, high priority pathway to permanent residency, whilst at the same time being in a well-managed fund that provides an 80% preservation strategy for their money, which they get back in 5 years, and then the potential of some high growth, high risk return profile on the venture capital. To be clear, we in the Paspalis Innovation Investment Fund, we can invest in companies that are in Australia or overseas. They can be anywhere. We've invested in a Singaporean business, and we've invested in companies that are based in the southern states of Australia as well. But the single feature that is common among all our investments is that every investment has a very, very clear link back to the Northern Territory in terms of creation of jobs or a project or networks or capital inflows. We have a broad set of definitions around what constitutes an economic advantage for the territory, and that all listed in our information memorandum. I've spoken about global companies. So next slide. I thought I'd provide an overview of the three funds and money that's been raised to date. So the PIF1 fund, which was the first mint program, raised $25 million. It invested across a range of deals I'll talk about in the next few slides, and has co-investment relationships with some really high-profile organisations such as CapVista, which is the Science, Innovation and Technology venture fund for the Singaporean government, 500 Startups, which is one of the top US startups out of the East Coast of America, West Coast of America, I should say. The Northern Territory Local Jobs Fund and groups such as Aspen Medical have been looking at partnering with our company in investments. PIF2 has raised $50 million. It's now closed. And again, it's currently investing in some very exciting companies that have included a range I'll talk about shortly. PIF3 is open. It has also been structured so it's compatible to invest with the North Australian Infrastructure Fund, whether that be through direct investment, co-investment relationships, which is the federal fund established for investment in the Northern Territory. So PIF, some of the companies to give you an idea of the sorts of venture capital firms we've invested in, Universal Site Monitoring is a business we invested $1 million into from PIF2. That is a mining equipment technology that measures the environment. It's a safety gadget that miners and oil and gas technicians can wear on their shirts. And that business is a high growth business in the Northern Territory. It's the investment we made of $1 million actually dragged along an additional several $100,000 in private money, and also received close to $1 million in federal Australian commercialisation grant funding alongside our investment. So that was a great achievement for us in leveraging our private investment with government money. BetTube is a sports wagering fintech business we invested $1 million into in January 2021. That business was valued at close to $20 million. Since we've made an investment, within 3 months, that business has already nearly doubled in value with a second capital raise close to $40 million. So that's been a great investment for us. Actually, I might need to check those numbers on that. It's been 100% growth on that. I know this is being recorded. I'll check those numbers, but it's been 100% return, close to those figures. Corrosion, again, has had a second round investment of a second round. We put $500,000 in the first round, and now another $250,000 has gone into co-investment. And again, that business is now getting institutional investment interest in it at a high valuation. We're really excited by those 3 investments we've made in PIF2. Can we please check the next slide? Aliena is a space propulsion technology business in Singapore, which has links into the space sector in the Northern Territory. Again, we invested into that business at a valuation of close to $10 million. That business is now set up a jet propulsion lab in Changi Airport in Singapore and has received a second round investment from Capvista at a slightly high valuation and is set to launch a Cube satellite into orbit later this year in December on a SpaceX rocket, and then has a Series A value capital raise plan for next year, which we're confident is going to be at a very high valuation uplift to our initial investment. Equatorial Launch Australia, again, another really exciting project is the Arnhem Space Centre in Nhulunbuy in the Northern Territory. In 2022, it secured a contract with NASA to see sounding rocket research program being launched out of that site. We invested into Equatorial Launch Australia with PIF1 in 2019. Again, that company is currently in the finalisation of negotiation for a very large second round investment and a significant uplift on valuation, which is great. And that investment is going to be, we're hoping, well over $10 million going into it for seed capital. Speed 3D. Again, another exciting company we've invested into in 2019. That business is a world-class additive manufacturing technology in metal printing, which can utilize copper, aluminium, and steel, blended metals as well, and has one of the fastest print technologies in the country. It's secured some very large contracts with the Navy and the Defence Force, and with some overseas universities and partnerships that have been well publicised. Again, we invested into that business in 2019 at a valuation of $30 million. And it is currently going through a second round capital raise, a significant amount of capital being invested, well over $10 million at a valuation that is again, close to a 100% return over a 2-year period. All of these projects that I'm talking about have been, we have not exited those investments, but they are all going through very large valuation uplift with real money going into them in second rounds. So it demonstrates the value of the PIF fund, because PIF is able to seed some very exciting businesses in the Northern Territory that then lead to second round investment, which then can see those companies through to their commercialisation goals. I'm very, very proud and very happy to present today. Thank you.
Thank you, Edmund, and thank you, Holly and Kathleen. First of all, thank you all for joining us today and for your time, particularly on a weekend, and for your interest in Australia's Northern Territory. My name is Kevin Kadugama. I'm the manager of Migration Northern Territory, which is a business unit within our Department of Industry, Tourism and Trade within the Northern Territory government. With me is my colleague Shane Crawford, who is our Migration Program Officer, our main case officer for the MINT program, and who has responsibility over that program. We'll speak to you soon as well. It has clearly been a different way of doing things over the last couple of years in the pandemic environment. Thank you to everyone involved in this program, Kathleen, Holly, everyone else, for working in these uncertain times to still make things work. We are coming to you from Darwin, the capital of the Northern Territory, which we like to say is currently the safest place, in one of the safest places in the world, and clearly one of the safest in Australia. We also like to say that we are the comeback territory of Australia, comeback capital, I should say, of Australia. Our economy and our people are relatively in a healthy position, and proudly so. Now, the Northern Territory government's priorities for quite some time, and especially in this environment, has been to grow our economy to $40 billion by 2030. That's the overall vision of the territorial government and certainly the department in which we work. We like to, in terms of doing that, there are, as far as migration goes, there are three main aims which this program feeds directly into. First and foremost, we want to increase our population and maintain a stable and growing population in the Northern Territory. We want to make sure that that population contributes to a skilled workforce and contributing to the various industries that are consistently looking for workers. And lastly, but not at all the least, we want to grow our private investment. These three aims are clearly met in Migration Innovation Northern Territory, the MINT program. We like to do things a bit differently in the Northern Territory. That's part of our culture. We pride ourselves on innovation and creativity. And this is the only program of its kind in Australia, which is why we're quite proud of our partnership with Australis. And I'd like to acknowledge Harley and all his work over the many years in putting together this program and operating it quite successfully. And we also acknowledge the really good work of panel agents such as Kathleen, and who are a big part of this program. So we're quite proud of his achievements and what it contributes to the territory. Just to give you a little bit of a snapshot on what the migration program in Australia looks like and where we fit here in the Northern Territory. Australia is a federal system, which means we have a national government and then we have states and territories. Migration is an area that is governed by the national or the federal government from Canberra, our national capital. The responsibilities of the federal government would be to administer and control the migration law as a whole. They are responsible for assessing visa applications, coming up with the rules for visas, granting visas, and monitoring compliance with visa conditions. That is their responsibility from Canberra. They also set the application fees for visa applications and also set criteria to encourage people to migrate to regional areas such as here in the Northern Territory. State and territory governments such as us in the Northern Territory government have some particular and limited responsibilities within this framework. Okay? So as a lot of you may be familiar with the General Skill Migration Program, which the MINT program kind of utilizes or leverages on. The General Skill Migration Program targets people such as yourselves who are highly skilled and who are likely to contribute to the Northern Territory workforce and economy. The territory government, such as just like our other counterparts, have the ability to issue nominations for visas under the General Skill Migration Program. So we can nominate those who qualify, who we deem eligible, and really what that means is those who make a contribution to the Northern Territory and who are likely to stay and become Northern Territorians and join us in our community. And the MINT program satisfies one of that criteria for us. We also have a role in administering some employer-sponsored visa programs where Northern Territory employers nominate overseas workers to join their businesses. We operate investor and entrepreneur worker attraction programs overseas and interstate. Okay, so last but not least, one of our main roles is to advocate and work together closely with the federal government in Canberra to make sure that the Northern Territory is able to attract the best people and to suit its needs, and making sure that the migration policies align with the needs of the Northern Territory. So that is, in a nutshell, what the system looks like. Where do we fit in the picture? We are Migration NT within the Northern Territory government, and we have some particular responsibilities. We have carriage over the business and general skill migration program in the Northern Territory. What that means is that we assess applications for nomination, and we issue those we set the criteria for that, and we issue nominations to eligible applicants. And that's the key role of our team. And Shane, for example, is a key part of that process in assessing and issuing nominations and working closely with our stakeholders. We are responsible for the policy development and advocacy, which I spoke about earlier, and participate in activities such as today in presenting the Northern Territory to prospective Territorians, I'd like to say, because that's what we call people who join our community, and we look forward to you being part of that. So that, in a nutshell, is what we do here at Migration NT. To tell you a little bit more about the Territory and how the MINT program operates in the Territory, I'll pass it on to my colleague Shane, who will take it from here. Thank you very much again for your time.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm Shane Crawford. I'm a Migration Program Officer with Migration NT. So where does Darwin sit? Many of you may not have been to Darwin or the NT in the past. Our physical location has been referred to as the gateway to Asia for Australia. Flight times to Asia include 5 hours and 30 minutes to Shenzhen, 4.5 hours to Singapore, 2 hours and 45 minutes to Bali. Mind you, that was pre-COVID flight times. Also, Darwin is Australia's closest capital city to Australia's largest trading partners. Within 5 hours flight to Darwin are 400 million people, which further cements Darwin's place as Australia's gateway to Asia. A diverse cultural mix and strong community ties to Asia. Despite our small population in the Northern Territory of around 275,000 people, the NT has a very diverse and vibrant community. One such community that's of quite some importance in the Northern Territory is our Chinese community. Many of those within the Chinese community have been citizens here in the NT for 4 or 5 generations. In fact, in the late 1800s, the Chinese population in Darwin outnumbered that of the European settlers. Together, the Chinese population in Darwin and another important population, the Greek population here in Darwin, are important populations in terms of our economy and and the culture here in the Northern Territory. Again, whilst we are a small population, the capital of the Northern Territory, Darwin, is not lacking in services. Both government services, cultural activities and sporting activities. And of all the services that are available in the Northern Territory, one of the most important of those is the healthcare service that's available in the Northern Territory. We have a world-class hospital system, which has been performing great feats during these uncertain COVID times. Darwin also holds various festivals throughout the year. One is the Luxor Festival, which celebrates the NT's close cultural connections to Southeast Asia. Another is our annual Darwin Festival, which headlines numerous cultural acts and combines that with a nightly night marching. A place for families to establish and grow. As I said before, Darwin's not lacking in services, and one of those services is education. There's a multitude of opportunities to educate your children here in Darwin, from world-class public schools through to private schools. And we also have a university, Charles Darwin University, which Harley mentioned before, which meets world standards and is routinely ranked #1 in graduate outcomes in Australia. So what is our role at Migration NT? Our role is to facilitate investment and innovation. We do that by partnering with Paspalis in running the MINT program, or allowing the MINT program. And we've done that by agreeing to concessions to our normal nomination criteria. Some of those concessions are that generally, if outside of the MINT program, if someone was to apply to us under the General Skilled program, it's unlikely that they would receive a nomination for a permanent visa. Within the MINT program, everyone who meets the criteria is assessed in the first instance against our nomination criteria for a permanent visa. We provide priority processing in terms of MINT applications, and we maintain the integrity of our migration program through a set of MINT program criteria. So the MINT GSM criteria. All applicants who apply under the MINT program must not have strong links to other regions of Australia unless they have strong links to the Northern Territory. Some of what constitutes a strong link to another region of Australia could be residence within the last 5 years in another region of Australia, or state or territory. It could be immediate family members living in another state or territory in Australia. Must meet Australian government threshold criteria for the relevant visa, and must be nominated for an occupation that's on the Northern Territory Skilled Occupation Priority List, or NTSOC, which was published in 2019, and the relevant current Commonwealth Skilled Occupation List. Must not be an international student within the last 5 years. And by that, we mean an international student in Australia holding a student visa and studying in Australia for the last 5 years. So visa holder obligations. So under the GSM program, both subclass 491 and subclass 190 nominees must sign a commitment to remain in the Northern Territory for at least 3 years. Also, attached to that, those who are nominated for a subclass 491 visa may need to meet other criteria for their pathway to permanent residence, such as living, working and studying within the designated regional area and earning a minimum amount, TISMET, which is currently set at $53,900 per year, for 3 years in order to qualify for permanent residence. However, with that said, most applicants under the MINT program will receive a nomination for a permanent visa from the outset. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending our seminar today. It's our pleasure to have Paspalis, Harley from Paspalis, and Kevin and Shane from Migration NT to join us today. Today we will talk about 6 parts. We will talk about our company, our advantages in the MINT program, and introduction of the MINT, the procedures of the MINT, and the features and the advantages of the MINT program, and the living and working in Australia. About us, We Australia Visa Link is an Australian-based and registered migration and education agency established in 2009 under direct regulation of the Office of the Migration Agents Registration Authority, MARA, and the Department of Home Affairs. Our team has rich professional knowledge and experience in preparing various visa applications, including student visas, skilled migration visas, employer sponsorship visas, business visas, and family visas. We also provide appeal service for visa refusals and cancellations. Our advantage in the MINT program, we are one of the approved panel agents for the MINT program. We can provide professional migration service to our prestigious clients. In Australia's fiscal year 2019 to 20, we have successfully represented a substantial number of clients, into like 26 clients, and all of them successfully obtained nominations from Migration NT. And some of them even have already got visa approved. In the last fiscal year, we also have successfully represented a substantial number of clients, 29. All of them successfully obtained nomination from Migration NT. And also some of them have got visa approved. The professional advantages, we have rich experience. Since the start of the MINT program, we have participated in the program for 3 consecutive years, assisting more than 50 applicants got their EOI invitations. High successful rate. All applicants have been successfully invited by the Migration NT, and many applicants have also had their visa granted. One-stop service. We can help you from the initial skill assessment to the final visa approval. We can provide our customer with the professional and high quality service at every single step. We would like to share some successful stories with you. Like we have some clients from as an engineer or IT professional or in the medical sectors, they got their 190 visa approved. And even some of them have already secured the job in NT government. And we have a client in civil engineer. Before he got the visa, he already got the job offer from NT government in his field. And we have requested immigration to priority processing his case. And we got the visa very quick. So if your occupation is on the priority occupation list, we will help you to request immigration to priority your case. And once you get the 190 visa approved, you can just come here, when you are ready. MINT program, it is an initiative owned by the Paspalis Group and supported by the Northern Territory government. The program assists overseas nationals who have demonstrated their commitment to supporting NT's innovation ecosystem by investing Australian dollars 515,000 in PIF3 that invests into venture capital project, which provide an economic benefit to the Northern Territory innovation ecosystem. The program has a quota of 50 places each year, and the state nomination criteria will remain unchanged until June 30th, 2022. Here's the visa criteria, 190 visa or 491 visa. Their criteria is you need to be nominated by this visa by an Australian state or territory government agency. Also, you need to have a suitable skill assessment at the time of invitation. Be able to score 65 points or more in skill select. Nomination for 190 visa is 5 points extra. For 491 visa, it's 15 points extra. Your age will need to be under 45 when the Department of Immigration invites you to apply for the visa, and must have at least competent English, which is 6 band at least, meet health and character requirements, and be nominated for an occupation on the relevant Australian government occupation list. Here's the MINT skilled migration specific criteria. To be eligible for the MINT program, candidates must meet the following criteria. You must meet Australian government threshold criteria for the relevant visas, have a valid skill assessment outcome to be nominated for an occupation on the Northern Territory Migration Occupation List, and also on the relevant Australian government occupation list. Not to be an international student in the last 5 years unless they have strong links to the Northern Territory, not have had immediate family member living in other regions of Australia in the last 5 years, not hold investment assets in excess of Australian dollars 100,000 in other regions of Australia, or not hold residential property in other regions of Australia. And the MINT program suits the primary applicants who have at least a competent English test result, strong financial capacity to make the investment, skilled nominated occupation on the Northern Territory Migration Occupation List and on the relevant Australian Government Occupation List, rich working experience in your nominated occupation and no link to other regions of Australia unless you have strong links to the NT, not being an international student unless you have strong links to the NT and scored at least 50 points for 491 visa or scored at least 60 points for 190 visas. Here are the fees. The MINT placement fees are Australian dollars 33,000 payable directly to Paspalis, and invest 515,000 in the Paspalis Innovation Investment Fund number 3. The fund intends to invest its capital into Northern Territory Government Fund of 80% or early stage investments in the Northern Territory of 20%. Here are the procedures of the MINT applications. Our first step, for the stage 1, we will help you to assess your eligibilities. Also, if you haven't done the skill assessment, we will help you to start from the skill assessment. And then meanwhile, we will encourage you to do your like IELTS test or PTE test to get your English test result ready. And then the suitable applicant, you can enter into the placement agreement with Paspalis and pay the placement fee to secure the quota. The second step, we will help you to launch the online application to Migration NT. It must be within 60 days from signing the placement agreement. And step 3, applicants receive the provisional approval from the visa nomination from Migration NT. And the stage 4 is applicant will need to make the application to invest in PIF3 and pay the investment fee 515,000 to PIF3, which need to be invested within 30 days of receive the provisional approval. Stage 5, PIF3 trustee will perform the AML check, which is the anti-money laundering check on funds transfer and complete the PIF3 application process. Number 6, Migration NT will grant the state nomination and the applicant will have 60 days to submit your visa application with Department of Home Affairs. And step 7, the Department of Home Affairs will take around 4 to 15 months to process the visa application. And the last step is you got the visa and then travel to NT Australia at any time. Let's talk about the features and advantages of the MINT program. The features, currently, MINT program is the only program in Australia accepts overseas applicants without special conditions related to experience, language, and registration. As long as you meet the previously mentioned criteria of the MINT program, you will have the opportunity to obtain an EOI invitation. And the feature of the MINT, reliability. The program is an initiative owned by the Paspalis Group and supported by NT government. It has lower essential condition and the cost. The minimum EOI points is 65 only. and the investment amount is Australian dollars 515,000. And low risk. Asset allocation, 80% is in NT's territory bond, and 20% is in early stage venture capital in the Northern Territory. The advantage of the MINT program, you will have a chance to apply directly for 190 visa or 491 visa. One for all, your family members, your immediate family members all can be included. It has a streamlined processing. The state nomination application can be processed within 1 to 2 months. A wide range of occupations, 265 occupations can be selected, far more than the occupation allowed for 189 visa. The investment amount is also lower than the requirement of a business visa. For example, for the 1AA-B visa, the applicant required to invest 2.5 million Australian dollars now. And for the 1AA-C, it requires the applicant to invest 5 million. You will enjoy free public education for your children after obtained permanent resident visa, and also can access to the free Medicare system for permanent resident visa holders. There's 3 major advantages of the Northern Territory Migration Occupation List. It has a wide range of occupations with up to 265 occupations to choose from. And the special requirements on the occupation list, you do not need to be met. Applicants for the MINT program are not restricted to the special requirement on the Northern Territory Migration Occupation List, such as English, working experience, registration, etc. The Northern Territory government also gives priority to issuing 190 visa invitation for applicants who meet the common criteria. The 491 visa invitation is only issued when the EOI points cannot be met, or the nominated occupation is restricted by the occupation list. Comparing to other states, at present, the only states that open state nomination to overseas applicants in Australia are the Northern Territory MINT program, South Australia, and Tasmania. Comparing to South Australia only invites specific technical and medical occupations such as fitter, motor mechanic, captainer, occupational therapist, and so on. The general application requirement require an EOI of at least 80 points, at least 5 years of working experience, or 8 years of working experience in your field, and only issue 491 visa invitations. Comparing to Tasmania, Tasmania will only invite some specific positions on demand from time to time, and also requires the applicant to have a job offer for more than 12 months from the Tasmania employer. And also they only issue 491 visa invitations. Here is living and working in Australia. About Australia, Australian economy. Australia is a highly developed country with the world's 12th largest economy. It has a high income economy with the world's 10th highest per capita income. Immigrants account for 30% of the country's population, having the 8th highest human development index and the 9th highest ranked democracy globally as of 2020. Australia ranks highly in quality of life, health, education, economic freedom, civil liberties, and political rights, with all its major cities faring exceptionally in global comparative livability service. And employment. Australia has a well-developed employment system designed to provide flexibility and certainty to both employers and their employees. As of June 2021, there were only 13 million people employed with a low unemployment rate of 4.9%. Climate. Australia's climate is generally very pleasant and mild. Most of the country receives more than 3,000 hours of sunshine every year. Welfare system. New immigrants who have received either 491 visa or 190 visa will receive welfare benefits. Australia is currently one of the countries with the best welfare system in the world, providing permanent residents and citizens with comprehensive welfare allowance, including childcare benefit, education allowance, and pensions. After participating in Medicare, you also can get medical service for free in public hospital. And it's multiculturalism. Today, Australia has the world's 8th largest immigrant population, with immigrants accounting for 30% of the population, the highest proportion among major Western countries. About Northern Territory. Northern Territory is the 3rd largest Australian federal division. Besides the capital of Darwin, some major settlements, including Palmerston, Alice Springs, Katherine, and so on. NT has a low population density with a population of around 250,000. The northern end, including Darwin, has a tropical climate with high humidity and 2 seasons, the wet and the dry season. And Darwin's proximity to Asia makes the city's location a key link between Australia and Asian countries. The 2 largest economic sectors are mining and tourism. Given its location, Darwin serves as a gateway for Australian businesses to connecting Asian countries. Education is overseen territory-wide by the Department of Education and Training, whose role is continually improve education outcome for all students. Primary education includes 1-year prep and year 1 to year 6. Secondary education includes year 7 to year 12. And Darwin's largest university is Charles Darwin University, which is the central provider of tertiary education in the Northern Territory. It covers both vocational and academic courses, acting as both vocational and higher education service providers. We searched some school recommendations for you in Darwin, because I know most of the applicants, you have kids need to attend the school, primary or secondary. For example, the Essendon School in Darwin, Hailey Berry Randall School, and the Laracaya, my pronunciation may be wrong here, primary school. It's a government primary school. And you might also looking for jobs in NT. You can find, here are all the major recruitment websites in Australia, like SEEK, Career One, Job Active, and also Northern Territory, they have their own jobs board. And the Northern Territory government jobs can be found on those links as well. Edmund can share with you later on. And he has all the PPT. That's all for me today.